slightly awry today. We've got some technical hitches, but it's going to be fine. You'll notice there is a blank space next to myself and Sarah. Hi, Sarah. How are you doing? That is Craig. He's not currently with us, but I'm hoping he will be any second now. I've just had a message from him. Okay, so I'll leave it on the 3-person screen in the hope that Craig will be able to join us in a minute. It's our first one of the and the next ones are going to be slicker, and the countdown will be right, and it'll come on all properly. But it's very nice for some of you to be joining us today. Quite a few of you to be joining us today. We are looking at research methods, and we're going to be checking what you remember really from last year, assuming most of you are joining us at year 13s, what you remember from last year on your research methods, so some knowledge, questions on research methods. Through this term, we're going to be doing this most weeks, and we're going to be looking at a range of different skills. So today we're looking at knowledge and understanding primarily, but we'll do some sessions where it's more analytical or more evaluative, looking at research methods and theory and a few different things across this first half term. Okay, I think we will get straight on with it. For the time being, I'm going to be Craig, and hopefully
I'll be Sarah.
Okay. Oh, we'll see how we get on. Okay, so to start with, I'm going to start straight away, being Craig, with a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 activity. So with this activity, we're going to ask you for 5 of something, 4 of something, 3 of something, 2 of something, and 1 of something. It'll become clear in a moment what we mean by this, and you'll have 2 minutes to come up with them. So we're looking for 5 methods. We're looking for 5 methods that produce quantitative data, 4 methods that produce qualitative data, 3 practical issues or practical problems that people might encounter when they're doing research, 2 ethical issues that people might encounter with their research, and 1 theoretical issue. Okay, when you're putting your answers in the chat window, if you want, probably the easiest way would be to put the number next to which one it is, so that we know what sort of an issue you're suggesting or what sort of method it is. So if you've come up with you don't need to come up with all 5 quantitative methods if you like, but if you put 5 and then a quantitative method, we'll know that's the question you're answering. Okay, here we go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Everyone's being a little bit shy. Go on, pop some answers in. You know some of this stuff.
Come on, give it a go.
A method that produces quantitative data, or a method that produces qualitative data.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, so very quiet. I don't think we've stumped you with these questions. I think maybe people are just not wanting to be the first person to type an answer in. Okay, well, shall we have a look at the answers? Then on the next ones, you're going to give us the answers. Okay, let's have a look what they are on this one. So, 5 methods that produce quantitative data, the ones we've got here. Laboratory experiments, structured interviews, content analysis, official statistics, and opinion polls. Obviously, that's quite a lot there. I imagine when you were thinking about it, things like official statistics and maybe questionnaires would have come up quite high up on your list. Structured interviews, obviously very similar to a questionnaire. Some of the others maybe, and laboratory experiments we're familiar with. Some of the others maybe less familiar. Content analysis, used a lot for people studying the media, researching the media, but not just that, but that's one of the common areas where it's used, where people take some qualitative data like media reports and turn it into quantitative data, maybe counting the number of times certain things are in there, etc. And opinion polls we're familiar with from kind of political discourse, aren't we? Okay, let's have a look at some qualitative methods then, which we'll be looking at in more detail shortly. We have got we've got participant observations, we've got unstructured interviews, we've got personal documents, we've got media reports. Yeah, I'm sure you will have come up with some others as well. You haven't shared them with us, but I'm sure you will have come up with some others as well. Okay. 3 practical issues of research methods. When we talk about practical issues, we're really talking about the kind of the logistics of the research, the practicality of doing the research. So time and money is generally the main areas we talk about that, and also access. So can you access the participants? Is there funding? How much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? There are various ways in which those sorts of considerations might affect different research methods, but those are the key issues that you might think about in terms of practicalities. Ethical issues, the 2 we've got here, whether you can get informed consent, protecting people from harm. There are plenty of other ethical issues as well, particularly around sort of deception and kind of confidentiality or anonymity. Law, whether things are within the law, whether there might be law breaking involved, all that kind of thing. Okay, and finally, we wanted a theoretical issue, and obviously there are lots that you could have come up with. We've gone with validity, reliability, what sort of data you want to produce, whether you're a positivist or an interpretivist, all that kind of thing could be relevant there. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Sarah now for something called a 30-second challenge. So she's going to ask you some questions, and you've got to see whether you can answer them in 30 seconds. I think you're gonna do these. Come on.
Okay. Yeah, come on. So these 3 questions are going to be focused on qualitative methods and studies that have used qualitative methods. So the first question, you're going to have 30 seconds to put as much as you can in the chat to answer the question. What we are asking you for first is to name 3 studies. We know these studies are really useful when you can bring examples in, maybe in, say, a 10-mark essay. I'm just going to stop for a minute. Duncan, there's something that said messages aren't going through. I'm not sure whether there are people answering and we're just not seeing it, perhaps.
Oh.
Quite possibly, yeah.
So I've seen that message from, but I've not seen any others. So have other people been commenting? Well,
I'm not sure. Shall we continue and see?
We'll continue, and let's see what's happening. I apologise if you have answered the questions and they've not come through.
Yeah, and we haven't given you any credit. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, I apologise profusely for that. Let's have a look. Let's see. Go now. A message has come through. Hopefully that means others will. So
yeah, that's right.
So here we go.
You've got 30 seconds to name 3 studies which use qualitative methods. You could give the name of the person who did the study. You can give an indication of what the study was called or what it was about. Looking forward to seeing what kind of examples you might use. Hiya, you might be the only person whose messages are coming through. We might be relying on you.
I'll just have a look on YouTube and see what...
Okay, 30 seconds goes quickly, doesn't it?
It does.
Well, had
Hello.
you have put it in the chat, what might you have said? And if you're doing this on catch up, obviously you could press pause and have a bit longer if you wanted to.
Oh, we have got a couple starting to
Oh,
come
look,
through
we've
now.
got well done, people. We've
Yeah.
got ethnographic studies. Yes, they use a combination of qualitative methods, don't they? That's brilliant. The Secret Policeman study by Mark Daly, nice and specific as well. Well done. Any others? Well done, Jamie. Well done, Haya. That's
We've got
excellent. Okay, we've got
yeah,
4
some
possible
different
suggestions.
ones. Yeah.
Don't worry if these are not ones that you've
Yeah.
studied personally, because
Yeah.
teachers are able to pick and choose the studies that best suit you
Absolutely.
and your class. So but you might be really curious seeing some of these and think, oh, I'm going to go look at that. Beachside Comprehensive, you've possibly come across in education, and that's Stephen Bull. And he used participant observation, and that was where you might not have called it beachside comprehensive, but that's where he found out that the kind of setting and streaming, that the lower sets
Yes.
were left to their own devices. So you might know about it even if you haven't named the school, which of course would never have been the real name of the school,
No.
because the real name of the school would have been kept anonymous. And then we've got Dobash and Dobash. Now, if you don't do the family topic, you might not have come across Dobash and Dobash, but they are a very, very commonly used example because they did these really unstructured interviews, and some of them went on for up to 12 hours per interview, apparently. And that was called Violence Against Wives. But generally, when you just refer to Dobash and Dobash, the examiner knows what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anne Oakley with the Sociology of Housework. Again, if you don't do the family topic, you might not have come across that, but she used very unstructured interviews. And she wrote a lot in all of her research about the importance of building these really strong and close relationships with her participants, which at the time was groundbreaking, wasn't it?
Yeah. Another good one with Oakley is the one she did about childbirth, because she was even present for some of the births, and that's serious building rapport there.
That's some serious staying, isn't it? Yeah.
And
Was invited to be at the birth of their babies. Yeah, it's amazing. And then we've also got Nike identities, which you probably have come across in education. That's Louise Archer, and that's the kind of universities not for me, that study. And she used semi-structured interviews. And if you actually get the journal article of that study, you can see some of the transcript from those semi-structured interviews, which I think is really interesting when you're looking at research methods. And she obviously got those working class students to really open up about their identity. So that method worked really well. Gave her lots of rich data. Right. Are we ready?
And Hayes also suggested Willis. Absolutely, the lads. Yeah, used a range of methods, but most of them, well, I think all of them qualitative actually, didn't. So they used participant observation, interviews, group interviews.
And that kind of immersive ethnographic approach where he kind of would go around the back of the school and smoke with them and kind of really, really built those relationships, didn't he? So that's such an iconic study.
Absolutely. Okay, good example.
Right.
Case studies.
Well done, Hyde. You made some really good contributions. Right. Question 2. Can you, in one short sentence, explain the key difference between a participant observation and a non-participant observation? So,
and if you got this question in an exam, you'd have more than 30 seconds.
Yes.
But let's see how you do. Okay.
This is like boot camp. You might want to pick out one major difference, or you might want to really sort of talk about the difference between the two. Or you might even define each one to show the difference. Okay. Nothing's come through yet, but I wonder if there's anything on its way.
I think it's worth giving them another second or two. Oh, here we go.
Oh, I've just seen something come through.
Yeah,
well done. We've got Sarah. Isn't participant observation where the person doing the study is involved, and the non-participant is where there's no involvement? Absolutely, Sarah. You've broken the back of that. That is, that's exactly the difference. It's either the involvement, the being engaged with the participants, or not being engaged with them. And Jamie, I like this, Jamie. Participant observation involves immersing yourself in the group. Yes, you'd be engaging with, taking part in the group. Whereas a non-participant observation involves viewing the group you wish to study from afar, which sometimes we refer to as a fly on the wall. And then we've got, well done, Haya, yours is excellent as well. The researcher observes from a distance without actively participating, which of course then means they can't ask questions. And they can't kind of get quite as closely involved and see the sort of inner workings of what's going on.
Yeah.
Really, really good. What have we got as our suggested answer?
A few really good responses. Is it? Probably not as much detail as that, but same point.
Our answer was not as good as yours. I did throw a couple of little kind of keywords and examples in that might be helpful. So like you all said brilliantly, participant observation, the researcher interacts with the participant. Maybe they take part in a way. You know, if you think about, you might be familiar with Pearson joining the Glasgow gang. No.
Oh, like football hooligans.
I'm just confused too.
Patrick was the Glasgow gang.
Patrick joining the Glasgow gang. Both of them, both really good examples.
Absolutely.
Are tied into one. But they both, you know, because it was participant and it was covert, they joined in with the gang. You know, they became part of that group. So that's like a real interaction. In the classroom, it might be someone who's kind of there as a visitor, but they're interacting, maybe acting in a way like kind of a teaching assistant. And of course, the non-participant, we stereotypically think of them with a clipboard because they would kind of be that fly on the wall, more kind of towards in education setting. They might be sat in the corner. They might be, you know, against the wall. They wouldn't be in amongst interacting with the participants.
Yeah, just one quick thing I'm just going to say quickly is that both participant and non-participant could be covert or overt. So just because it's participant doesn't automatically make it covert or overt, and same with non-participant doesn't automatically make it covert or overt. So either could be covert or overt. So you essentially got 4 different types of observations there, haven't you? There are other types as well, but
there, so if you were designing a study, you'd have to decide: is it going to be covert, overt, and then is it going to be participant or non-participant? Yeah. And you'd have kind of things informing that, like your topic, like your personal sort of feelings on research, and then you design the study around that. So well done. I think you've nailed that one.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay.
Good.
Next one.
Final question for this activity. What is triangulation? And how is this relevant to qualitative research? So give us anything you can, bit of a definition if you like, even a question if you're not sure. Yeah. Dev, thank you for saying you're not sure. I think it just means that's really good that this question is here, because you will be sure in about 2 minutes.
Yeah. Sick, but have a go. Even if you're not quite sure about the second half, have a go if you think you know what it is.
Yes.
Oh, we got some answers.
Oh, look. And a couple of people saying no idea, so this is great. This is another little key term to add to your repertoire.
Yeah, it's useful to
okay, so higher. Triangulation is when you use multiple methods or sources to double check your research findings. Well done. And make sure they're accurate and reliable. Yeah, so you would use more than one source, and then you would kind of more than one method. And then you would say kind of, does this match up? Am I getting the same patterns? Am I drawing the same conclusions? Jamie, using a combination of research methods to maybe gather a more valid set of results. Well done. And then we've got, is it else? I'm not sure. Triangulation is multiple methods to get more valid and representative data. Yeah, it could be more representative because obviously you might be accessing a wider group of people if you're using more than one method. And Sarah says it involves multiple methods of data sources to examine phenomenon. I like that language there.
Yeah.
Very scholarly. I like that. Very sociological. Brilliant. Yes. So essentially triangulation it's using more than one method so you can cross-reference what you're finding. Sometimes a researcher might choose to use qualitative and quantitative. They don't have to, but they might choose to use both and then cross-reference those. And it can really strengthen credibility, because if you're going to claim some findings, if you can then say that it's been cross-referenced by 2 different types of method, then that can strengthen the credibility of the study. So yes, it is using multiple sources.
And without giving away the answers to some of the later questions, what we tend to find with a lot of our qualitative type methods is that they are better for validity. Yeah, they tend to be giving us quite a real picture of what's going on, but can be questionable from the perspective of their reliability. So by using qualitative and quantitative data, you can get the best of both worlds, if you like,
Double whammy.
bringing them together. Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Okay.
You got a bubble quiz for us, Duncan?
We have got a bubble quiz. I'm pretending to be Craig again for the bubble quiz. So, because some of you, it's probably the first time you've joined us for one of these, I'll need to explain how a bubble quiz works briefly. So this is like a normal multiple choice quiz, except there might be more than one right answer. There might be no right answer. So you'll get asked a question. You need to tell me which of the possible answers are right. It might be all of them. It might be none of them. It could be any point in between. So there'll be A, B, C, or D. But don't just say, I mean, some of them it might just be one, but check that more than one might be right. Okay, let's have a look. So the first one, which of the following are issues that you might face when using official statistics? So we've got A, that definitions can change, perhaps over time. We've got B, that maybe they're low in reliability. We've got C, that they can be manipulated. And D, that they're difficult to access. Okay, so which of these do you think might be correct? Might be all of them, might be none of them, might be 1, 2, or 3 of the 4 of them. Go on, see what you think. A, B, C, or D. So the good thing with this is you don't have to write too much. Just pop in a letter or 2 or 3. So Howard's saying A and D, definitions can change and it might be difficult to access. Erin is saying A, definitions can change. Jamie's saying A and C, definitions can change and it can be manipulated. Okay, shall we have a look? Well done, Jamie. Yeah, particularly A and C. Definitions can change over time, which it has to be said can have an impact on the reliabilities, although we've not included B. Amelia's saying B maybe and someone else. So, you could say, well, although generally speaking we think of official statistics as being pretty reliable, obviously if definitions change over time that can impact their reliability. They might be manipulated by governments and politicians because they are official government figures. Indeed, definitions might be changed in order to manipulate the data. But they're normally pretty easy to access because it all gets published on the Office for National Statistics website. So you can access official statistics reasonably easily. And we generally think of them as being good for reliability because they're collected very regularly, massive sample, very standardised. Yeah. So those are what we'd normally see as being a strength of official statistics. Okay. Can they keep certain
Sarah
data from you, Sarah? That's an interesting
Yeah,
point.
can they keep data from you? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, so official statistics are those statistics that get published and released. Of course, there might be things we'd like to know that don't get published and released. And yeah, so that by dint of them not being published and released, they're sort of not official statistics, but there might be other statistics that we might want to know or other data we want to know.
And you could argue kind of leading questions and things, couldn't you? Because I think that is it Tim Minchin did a big campaign about the census in Australia because the question was, what religion are you, instead of are you religious?
Yeah.
Which therefore might create different results.
Yeah. No, there's definitely things about the questions that are asked, aren't there? And you can end up with oddities, like in the UK. I can't remember how long ago it was now. It was quite a long time ago. But there was like a campaign to get people to say that they were Jedi Knights on the religion question.
And heavy metal as a religion was one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Comedy religion. Yeah.
But enough people put Jedis for it actually to be one of the main UK religions, but obviously
As it should be.
but none of the people were really Jedis. So
If you're a sociologist, it was a pain.
Okay. Next one. Which of the following are advantages of a structured interviews? So we've got that they might be high in validity. We've got that they can be replicated. We've got that they use standardized questions. We've got that they're free from researcher effects. So try and remind yourself what a structured interview is compared with some of the other types of interviews, and which of these might be most seen as sort of positive, advantageous aspects of structured interviews. So we've got A, B, C or D. Jamie's gone for B and C. They can be replicated and they use standardised questions. You're on fire, Jamie. Very good. Well done. It absolutely is. Well done, Caitlin, as well. Fantastic.
Well done, Caitlin.
Yeah, very good. Yes, so structured interviews in many ways are like a questionnaire. And Erin's got it as well. Well done. So they do ask the same questions over and over again. So that's nice and standardised and easy to repeat. We can question their validity because we got kind of the imposition of these questions. You don't give people a chance to sort of give their own kind of responses, which you get in semi-structured and unstructured interviews. And you still have the possibility of a sort of imposition effect from the interviewer and things like you would with any other interview. Okay. Next one. Which of the following are issues with field experiments? So kind of problems with field experiments, criticisms of field experiments. Is it A, cost? Are they expensive to carry out field experiments? Ecological validity. That's a fun one for the psychology students among you. Informed consent. Is there an issue with getting informed consent with field experiments? And the control of extraneous variables. Some serious interview language going on here. Sorry, not interview. Experiment. I've serious experiment language going on here. Proper research methods. Any ideas? Thinking about specifically about field experiments as opposed to laboratory experiments. So Jamie has gone with A, C and D. The cost, the issue of getting informed consent, and the control of the extraneous variables. Higher, Erin, Caitlin have particularly picked up the control of extraneous variables. Caitlin's also mentioned the informed consent. Eventing L's has added cost in there as well. And yeah, well done. So it might be expensive to set up a field experiment. It might be time consuming, it might involve specialist people, specialist equipment, etc. Informed consent's a big issue because in order to try and control some of the variables, you might not want to reveal exactly what the purpose of the experiment is, but then that becomes an ethical issue. And the whole point about a field experiment rather than a laboratory experiment is that by it being out in the field, you can't control those extraneous variables that you would want to try and control in a laboratory situation. But being out in the field in the real world does give it ecological validity.
You might have seen the Swedish research group Panda did that domestic violence in a lift field experiment. And they had a hidden camera, so they couldn't get informed consent, but they obviously asked for consent afterwards.
Yes.
And clearly some of the people in it didn't give their consent
No.
because on the video their faces are blurred out.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice for kind of thinking about how it works.
No, absolutely. Yes. So that is the only way you can try and get consent with this sort of thing, isn't it? Is to ask after the event retrospectively. Is that acceptable? Because people have still been investigated without them knowing, researched without them knowing. Or possibly in a field experiment, they knew something was happening. They knew they were being involved in some research, but didn't know the real purpose of it or what what's going on.
It's an ethical minefield.
Yes. Which of the following are issues with closed questionnaires? So questionnaires ask closed questions. So we've got A, the imposition of answers. We've got B, response rates. We've got C, generalizability. And we've got D, lack of validity. So which of these do we think might be issues with questionnaires, specifically questionnaires that ask closed questions? So closed questions might be yes or no, or it might give you a few options. Might be agree, strongly agree, disagree, etc. A few
could be a Likert scale.
It could, yeah. So a few ways you can do a closed questionnaire. B and D, so you might get a low response rate. You're likely to have low validity. Caitlin's gone for B and D as well. Erin's gone for A, B and D, imposition of answers and in there as well. Caitlin's gone for B and D, Sarah's gone for B. Eventing L's gone for C, D and A. Shall we have a look? A, B and D. Quite a few of you went for that, didn't you? Or
Well done, Erin.
on that. Yeah, well done.
Yep, well done, Caitlin. Good.
Yeah, so the response rate is an issue with questionnaires. Whether you have closed questions or open questions, an issue with the questionnaire. If you're sending out questionnaires, posting them out perhaps, or sending them in emails and things like that, is whether people will bother to reply or not. And then you might have to try and get around that with offering incentives of various sorts. And then specifically with closed questionnaires, there's the issue of the imposition of answers. You're giving them a set of options, and none of those might quite reflect the person's real answer, real response. And that, in turn, limits its validity. Yeah, because you're only getting the answers that you've given the options of, not necessarily people's real views. But you'll often have a nice big sample, or you could potentially get a nice big sample with your questionnaires, so they might well be nicely generalisable to the wider population. Having said that, if you've got a very low response rate, then your carefully constructed sample might not be as representative as you'd like. Mm-hmm. So you might have spent ages doing your structured sample, and then actually, you've got this self-selecting group of people that actually reply, which might make it unrepresentative, but hopefully not. Okay. And the last one of these, we've got which of the following researchers used quantitative methods in their research. And we've got the specific research that we're talking about here as well, because obviously lots of these people did several studies. So we've got Durkheim's famous essay on suicide. We've got Townsend's work on relative deprivation. We've got Halsey, Heath and Ridge, who did research on going to university entrance. And we've got Wilmot and Young's work on the symmetrical family, so about roles between men and women in the family. So you won't necessarily know all of these studies, don't worry if you don't, but those of you who know some of them, do you know whether they used quantitative data? Quantitative methods. Which is quite interesting. Jamie's not too sure, but maybe C.
Well done for having a go, Jamie.
Absolutely, yeah. Do join in. Okay. Amelia's saying D. Okay. I'm going to let you know, you won't necessarily know all of these studies. It does depend a little bit which other optional topics you do. And Amelia said possibly A. Sarah saying maybe none of them. Yeah. So obviously Wilmot and Young comes up in families. Halsey, Heath and Ridge you might have looked at in education, but you might not have done. Townsend relative deprivation most likely to come up in stratification, which obviously most of you don't do, but some of you might. And the Durkheim study isn't in the specification anymore. It used to come under crime and deviance, but it's often used as an example in theory and methods of a positivist type study, particularly when we're talking about whether sociology is a science and all that kind of thing. And that might help point out that maybe that would be quantitative data if wanting it to be nice and scientific. And in fact, it is all of them. Okay, so Durkheim looked at, people tend to say official statistics. I mean, he created a lot of the statistics himself, but statistics, and then looked at the impact of different variables on the data. Townsend created his own index for measuring relative deprivation, so essentially a kind of big survey. Halsey, Heath and Ridge was a massive longitudinal study, but others, again, based on a large scale face-to-face surveys. And Wilmot and Young used questionnaires because they asked people what work they did in their house. And it's an interesting example because if people ticked that they did any sort of housework at all, if the men ticked that they did any sort of housework, then that's a symmetrical family. Then if it did vacuuming, once did a spot of vacuuming, whatever, that's symmetrical. Okay.
Sign of the march of progress there.
Exactly. Okay, handing back to Sarah for what I think is a fiendishly difficult connection war, but
Yes.
fun to have a go.
I said to Duncan when I made this, I think it's really difficult. But I also think it's really good to have this kind of level of challenge, isn't it? So have a go at this and you can tell me if you think it's really hard. So what we've got here is there are 3 groups of phrases, but we're not going to tell you what the groups are. You've basically got to group this into 3 different groups, and they are all related to qualitative studies or qualitative research. So I'll give you a minute. There's not a timer on this one, is there, Duncan?
No.
So I'll give you a minute. Have a look. See if you can spot just one group, and you don't have to type the text because you can use the references. So you can say like, oh, I think A1 with C2 or whatever would make a group. So there will be 4 in each group. 4 in each group? Yes, there'll be 4 things in each group, and there's 3 groups. Or you might want to simply guess at what one of the groups might be. You might want to give it a title.
Yeah. And I've just realised I would have spelt Znenieki wrong. So well done for that.
I did. And then I looked it up and I pasted it from Google because I had it wrong. To be fully transparent. Every time I use it in a lesson, I think I spell it differently on the slides. It's a really good one, though. Thomas and Zanecki. If you don't know that study, it's a lovely one to read about.
So, Hayes said, journals, letters, rapport, narrative. Not too sure, though. So that might be a set of 4.
And do you know what? Even if it's not one that we've got, if you've connected
you might be able to explain it.
And you've got a link between them, that's still a really good answer.
Yeah, and Sarah's wondered whether it's about primary and secondary sources, and I can see why you might think that, because I can see some primary and secondary sources in there. Obviously, there are different ways you might be able to group these. We'll give you a little bit longer, but then we might give you a...
I think you're on something there, Sarah. Keep looking at that. See which ones you'd put in those groups.
Yeah, we might want to give some clues at some point. I've just realised I can't remember what order they come in. Do you remember?
I've got it here.
Excellent.
Hold on. Yes. Okay. So, little clue. The first one is a research method.
Yeah.
And it does have 3 things about that method. It also has an example of that method.
Yes. Oh, that helps with Amelia's.
Examples would be in different. The examples will be in different groups.
Yeah, and Craig has said, think of the different methods, ? Well done. Yeah, a little hint from Craig. Amelia, so yes, the examples, rather than that being one of the groups, it could be like, 4 of them are examples of research. Yeah. Actually, there's going to be one example in each group.
Yeah, so one example in each group. And given we're going to reveal the first group in a minute, if I told you that the first group will have beachside comprehensive as the example, what might you put with it? This is what we call thinking hard.
Yeah.
Classroom, isn't it?
It is tricky, this. It's a tricky activity.
I can hear your brains ticking over.
So beachside comprehensive, you did reveal earlier what method was used for beachside comprehensive.
Oh, we talked about it already, didn't we? Yes, this is like a little bit of retrieval from earlier in the session. Yeah. Higher, I like that you're thinking about credibility. That's nice. That could take you somewhere. Okay.
Shall we reveal the first one? Because then that does help by taking some of the options away for later ones, doesn't it? Has said field work. And Sarah's confused. Okay, let's have a look.
There we go. So we've got participant observation.
was
The
right, huh?
example is Stephen Ball, Beachside Comp. And then we've got other things in the group. Field work would be part of participant observation. The researcher being involved, participant observation. And then this word immersion, where you kind of immerse. I think some of you even said that when we defined it earlier, where the researcher immerses themselves in the environment.
Yeah. Oh, well done, Sarah. You did get it.
So what do you think might be another group in the ones that are left? I'll give you a clue. Another one of them is also a method.
Yes, well done, Sarah. You did get it.
Yeah, well done, Sarah.
So we did talk about Oakley Sociology of Housework earlier as well, didn't we? So that might help.
Yes, we did. We've laid the foundations for this to be
deliberate callbacks. It's very good.
It was all planned.
Yeah. What do we
I like
reckon?
that Hire has said, yes.
Yeah.
I did.
So what method did Oakley use? And which some of the other things mentioned there might link. We used one of those words when we were talking about Oakley.
Yes. Sarah, is one a questionnaire? Which one are you thinking is a questionnaire? We could tell you if you ask us. But I don't think either of those example studies there are questionnaires. Yeah. No, we can rule that out.
I mean, I think Oakley did do some questionnaires as well, but we were talking about another method she used earlier.
Yes. And we talked about her being invited to the birth of babies. That might jog your memory. Oh, Erin's coming with
A3, Oakley, B3, rapport, B2, open-ended, and B1, narrative. And what do you think links those? Oh, an eventing saying unstructured interview. Shall we have a look?
Well done, Erin and Eventing.
Yeah.
That. You got there. That's brilliant.
Well
yeah, so she did narrative interviews, or you could also call them unstructured interviews. The names tend to be used interchangeably. Open-ended questions would have been part of that. And we talked earlier about the strong rapport that she built with her participants. Fantastic. So that leaves, you can now see what the final group is, but what do you think is the title for that final group? What are those 4 things about? So you've got Thomas and Zanecki as an example. Even if you don't know Thomas and Zanecki, have a look at the other 3 and see what you think ties them together. Oh, well done, Erin. Excellent. So Erin is saying secondary documents. And you're, very close. Not, well, they are actually all documents. Yeah. So secondary documents or secondary sources. And I've just gone a little bit extra and said secondary qualitative sources. But a lot of secondary sources are
absolutely
qualitative, aren't they?
Yeah.
So there we go. Secondary data, well done, Hire. Yeah. Oh, yes. Craig said, don't get confused with historical sources.
Well, yeah, because the interesting thing is if you study history, then you might often talk about some of these things as being primary sources, but not in sociology. So because if you were like looking at the original letters and diaries and stuff, then for historians that would be primary source. But
of course, personal documents, eventing. You're right. I think you could also call these personal documents. Couldn't you? Letters, journals, absolutely. And what Thomas and Zanecki were asking for was letters from people who'd moved to America from Poland, exchanging letters with their families back in Poland. So they would be very personal documents, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And they offered incentives because they couldn't get people to give them to them otherwise.
No. Fantastic. We've got one final activity, and it's the chili quiz. So with the chili quiz, we've determined that one question's easier, one's harder, and one's super fiendish. Of course, they're all easy if you know it and all hard if you don't. So it might well be that you know know the harder one and not the supposedly easier ones. But let's have a look. So we've got our mild question is the method used to collect the UK census. We've got the spicy question is the method used for the crime survey of England and Wales. That's the CSEW. And our hot one is the method that was used by Savage et al. I mean, they used a lot of different methods, but their initial method when they were looking at the class structure in what we tend to call modern Britain. Of course, it was a long time ago now when they did this particular piece of research, but it's still seen as quite contemporary. Okay, so we've got a little bit of time for you to think about these 3 questions. Answer any of them that you want if you think you know. Let's see what we've got. Some really good answers. Well done with that last activity. You got your bongos ready, Sarah?
Oh, yes.
I've got my bass guitar, so we're all right.
It's the Tutor to You band back together.
Craig's got his ukulele in the comments section. So sending the mild one, the questionnaires. Yes. Okay. I think these ones all reveal together, so let's see if we can get all of them before I press go. If it doesn't, I apologise, but I think it might do. So, okay, so I think the census uses a big questionnaire. What about the crime survey of England and Wales? So Erin's saying the first one's a survey, yeah. So the census. We tend to use the word survey and questionnaire reasonably interchangeably, although interestingly, the crime survey of England and Wales, we might say it's something slightly different. The UK Census quantitative methods, it provides us with quantitative data through using this questionnaire or survey. Yeah, it does give us some quantitative data. Has anyone come across this Savage et al. About the class structure? Oh, Sarah, well done. Second one, structured interviews for crime survey in England and Wales. Yeah, they do face-to-face structured interviews. I think they didn't go face-to-face during the lockdowns and things, did they? There was slightly, but ordinarily that's what they do. Shall we have a look? Let's have a look at the answers. So, as I say, I think they all appear at once. Yeah, there we go. So, self-completion questionnaires for the census, a structured interview for the crime survey of England and Wales. And yeah, the initial research for Savage et al. Was an online questionnaire. It was like a really big, large-scale online survey, which the BBC was involved with as well. Okay. Craig said, if you've not heard of Savage et al., it was a great British class survey initially done in conjunction with the BBC. Absolutely. Okay. Fantastic. And yes, there were then follow-up interviews and further research afterwards. So that's absolutely right. Well done. I'm going to come back to the... I think
have we got one more little activity done?
Have we? Sorry, have I missed one?
Is it the 60
Oh,
seconds?
yes, it's the 60-second challenge. Gosh, I just thought it was...
Perfect to end on.
It is, and it's a great one to end on, and I'm sorry, yes. How could I forget about the 60-second challenge?
No. Yeah, this is
amazing.
a nice quick fire, so this is a really nice way to end, and because it's got a lovely list of key terms, I would take a photo of that or, screenshot or something, because that list of key terms is really good for revision. So all you got to do is match them up. So just use the letters and the numbers. You don't have to type the words. And you've got 60 seconds. The clue is in the title.
Here we go.
Have a go.
Some nice dramatic music.
Yeah. I feel like this is going to be easy for you lot now because you've done so well in this session.
I know. Tomorrow I will put this PowerPoint up on the Tutor2U website. So if you want a copy of the PowerPoint, you can get it there.
Turn it into flashcards.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
And yes, the video will be available afterwards, Sarah. Hire has said G4.
G4. Well done. Well done, Hire. Keep them coming, people.
give you a few more seconds for a few more to come up. I bet people are typing some in quickly. I appreciate if you're doing this on your phone or something, these 60-second challenge ones can be a little bit, the text can be a little bit small. Oh yeah, we've got D6.
Oh, we got a D6. Yes, well done. We've got an H7. Well done. Excellent. Any more coming through? Well done, Midday. Good to have you here. Erin, you've
Erin's gone.
Erin. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so A5 is right.
Yes, C3, yes. D6, yes. G4, yes, we already had G4, good. H7, yes. E2, yes. And B8. Let's see. Yes! Wow, Erin, you smashed it. And Sarah, well done. You've got E2 as well. Fantastic, that's right.
So I have a feeling the only one that no one's done is F, but that means there should only be one left on the other side.
Yeah.
so we should be able to work it out.
Yeah. Shall we have a look at them matched up then?
Absolutely. There we go.
There we go. So if F was difficult, that predefined coding scheme or categories would be structured observation. So we often talk about having maybe behavior categories and a way that structured observation can be recorded in a quantifiable way.
Yeah, because we often think about well done, Erin. Yeah, we often think about observations as being like qualitative methods, and they often are. But counting the number of red cars that pass down the high street is also an observation and very much quantitative. Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
Well done.
Well done. Really good answers. Thanks so much for joining in. There's a possibility this won't work totally. Yeah, I thought that might happen. Sarah's going to be here in a second. There we go. I should have gone to the three. I should have gone to the 3 screen. I just thought I'll go to the 2 screen, but then there we. Thank you very much, everybody. And thanks for your excellent answers. Really, really good answers, weren't they?
Really strong group.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, fantastic. And thank you, Sarah. And thank you, Craig, in the comments, and for making some of the questions for us there. And yeah, next week. We will be starting to look at looking at methods, but we'll start looking at some specific methods in a bit more detail and starting applying some different skills to that. So similar sort of activities that'll be nice and interactive, but we might, start to apply some of the other skills, not just sort of knowledge recall. Although, to be fair, you were doing some criticisms and all sorts today and making connections. Some of the other skills were already appearing, so it's very impressive. I was really, really impressed. This is the first bit of sort of recalling sociology you'll have probably done this year. This is stuff you were doing last year. It's great that it's still nice and
it's a good start to year 13, isn't it?
Excellent. Yeah, so do join us next time. Bring your friends and we'll see you next time. Thanks very much, everybody. Thanks Sarah.
Well done, everyone.
Bye bye.